All right. So we're about to carry on with our painting. So we're just getting our paint ready. We've got some phthalo blue that we've added a bit of indigo to. I think, is that what this was from last week?
It's a mystery.
This is somebody else's paint that I'm going to reuse. So I got phthalo there. That's the light blue. So phthalo is a light blue, and we want to add some indigo blue, so that it is a calm blue. Because phthalo, you can see it's really intense, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So we want to dull it back a bit and make sure it's fluid. That's kind of gummy. Make sure it's nice and fluid so it looks sky-like. We also need some Prussian blue. Prussian is a really rich dark blue. And we used that in the Aurora Borealis painting we did, right? That was that really strong, gorgeous dark blue. So now this one looks like it's Prussian, but it looks watery to me.
They're like Goldilocks.
What's that?
It's too watery. It's too
Oh,
hot.
yeah.
It's too cold.
So I'm going to just put some Prussian over here so that I have some Prussian blue. So these are going to be for the water ripples in the foreground. And we want some strong indigo blue for some of the water ripples in the foreground as well. So I'm just going to put some of that. Because these look like they got watered down a lot that are in this tray. And then we need some yellow, and we've got aureolin yellow here, which is pretty much run out, so I'm just going to mix a little bit more. And if you have a lot of red in your sky, you'll probably have some of your pink left over from last week, right? And we happen to use, what was the color called? Do you remember? The pink color we had?
Is it opera?
No, it's not opera, but opera is a fantastic color.
Look at you.
Makes you want to sing.
No, I just did my little homework this morning. That's why I
So
remember.
opera is an
Rose.
intense,
Rose.
bright
Was it?
pink. Yes.
Rose?
Permanent rose was the one we
Oh.
had.
You're a smart cookie.
I thought so, that one.
So, and it's a great color if you like to paint flowers and things like that, because you can't really, don't get that color in other. So we want a really watered down yellow. And mine looks slightly green because my water's dirty, which is not a good thing. All right.
Want some more clean water?
Yeah, if I could just grab one of
There's
yours
one right
for
there.
now, and then I'll
Lots of extra water.
get a new one for you once you get started. All right.
There's more.
So, now, and some of our lessons are on my YouTube channel, that if you want to, but this one isn't. I thought it was, so we're doing this especially for Rick. Isn't that nice? And then for you too, to be able to review what we did. It's kind of handy. So let's get these out of the way.
I don't have a YouTube channel yet.
I do. Nothing on it.
No.
Nothing on it yet?
Oh, I have a Google account, so when you have a Google account, you automatically have a YouTube channel.
All right, so now we're going to use our flat wash brush, right? So this one is a blend, and I really like it, and this one's my pure one, which I got on sale one year. So, and so I'm going to use my pure one in case somebody wants to use my other one. All right, so what we're going to do, see if I can get that kind of sort of straight. It's always challenging to film yourself at the same time. So we're going to do the water, but not, and the sort of the reflections of the sky and the ripples, but we're not going to do the reflections of the islands until later. So one of the things that's great about the colors we're using is they're all permanent colors. They stain the page. So one of the great things about these colors I was telling you about that we've been using, and I'm saying they're stains, they come from a dye source. And one of the things that's great about those, we can paint on top of it and it won't smear. So we can paint in layers. The other thing that's great is it goes on really smooth. So it's really, they're good colors for things like sky and water that tend to look really clear and smooth. right? They are transparent medium. So the stain colors are actually transparent pigments because they're a dye. There's no particle of pigment that's opaque. So there's other pigment sources that are like little flecks of color dust. And you can't see through that little fleck. So that those kind of colors are often better for painting things that are opaque, right? Like wood or stone or something like that. So we're getting two good things out of these colors. The other attribute of stain colors is they're really powerful. So a little goes a long way. So did you notice how I'm putting water on smoothly and twice, right? I want to put it on once, let it soak in, put some more on, and I want a nice even shine. And then I'm going to start painting. So we're going to do the same thing we did last week. We're going to start with our yellow that's really watered down and run across the horizon here and just pull it back and forth and then down until we run out. And we look, does it look similar to the sky? Is it too strong? Add some water and wash it out. Is it too weak? Maybe add a little more paint. But I think that looks pretty close to what I have. And maybe could add a bit more. It looks kind of weak here. Okay, good. Then I want to get my really light blue color, which I'm a little scared of here.
The phthalo one, you mean?
The phthalo with indigo. I think that's what this person had mixed up last week. Yeah.
So it's lots of phthalo with a little.
Lots of phthalo, a little bit of phthalo, lots of water, a little bit of indigo just to make it more natural. You could also use cerulean blue in this exercise. So you notice what I did? I started about partway down, and then I'm pulling up into the yellow, and I want to try to get something that looks similar to my sky. I'm mirroring what's in my sky. And then I want to pick up some more color, and I could either just use a stronger phthalo mix and start at the bottom and work my way up. So that's what I happen to do. You could also say I'm going to go for the Prussian blue. I think that's what that was. I got confused too. Duh.
At some point we're just gonna have to start over because I have no idea what colors I have anymore.
They're all mixed.
Yeah, exactly.
That looks like Prussian. And we're going to pull that up. Now, before that dries up there, I'm just going to put my line of paint on there. And then I'm going to come back and do some ripples. Let's put a little bit of pink just on the horizon. Because it's going to dry, right? Up
Oh, it
there.
hardly shows.
That's really watered down. I better grab some out of my tray here. Now that's too strong. Okay, the other thing I've got going here is I've got clouds, so I better reflect some of my clouds in here too. So I'm just trying to do mirror image, softly indicating some of those clouds.
And what color are you using for that?
That was violet with some indigo blue. And if I find that's too strong, I can just sort of wipe over it with a bit of water if I don't like it. Make sure my brush is clean. There, I got more dirty water. I always do that.
This is clean.
Does that happen to you guys too?
Never.
Sure.
She's done to 10 cases of
Yeah, I have a bad habit of that. Okay, now I'm going to put some streaks. All right, so I could use my round brush or I could just keep going with my flat brush. I'll show you what I'll do.
So you do it while it's all still wet.
Yeah. So now I'm going to use my brush sort of sideways.
That's with the indigo?
And this should be Prussian blue.
Oh, it's Prussian blue. Okay.
So my first go, when the page is more wet, I'm putting, let's switch to a round brush now. And I'm going to do the phthalo mix. Now as I go up, I'm going smaller and smaller and smaller and closer together, right? And maybe the ripples are just disappearing. Now you see there I had some fuzziness because my brush was wetter than my page, and so all I have to do is wipe over the fuzz with a brush that's a little less wet than that. And I just want to make sure I get a sense of perspective that the ripples get smaller and closer together as I go back, just slowly, all right? Now I want some more contrast at the front here too. And what's in my tray is a little bit too watery, I think. Well, that one's not bad. I could take a round brush and I could add some stripes of indigo underneath my Prussian stripes. So these are my ripples. So one of the things you notice I'm doing, I've got horizontal lines. Waves don't actually look like that, right? That's a symbol. And they don't really just look like that either. So they tend to be relatively straight and lines that kind of start thin, thick, and thin again, and they overlap a little bit each time, right? And water is horizontal, right? It lays horizontally. So I can add some stronger Prussian blue in the foreground too. So what we want to do, so I pick up paint, I wipe on the edge of my tray, and as this evaporates I need to wipe more often. I might wipe on this side before I touch the page, because when I touch the page I don't want it to blob and have a big fuzzy thing like my cloud up there in the middle of the water. And the more it evaporates, the more I want to wipe my brush on the side before I touch the page, because I don't want fuzzy looking water. If my brush is wetter than the page, that's when it runs and it looks fuzzy like my clouds. That's fine on my cloud, it makes it look like a poofy cloud, but I don't want poofy water, right? So then as I go up into, and going into the background more, I'm going to go onto the tip of my brush more, not have as wet a brush, make smaller strokes so that I get a sense of perspective. And it looks like that water's laying back in space. And as I go, I'm running out of color too. So it's kind of like doing a gradation in my wash, but I'm picking up my brush every time. So I can get a sense of perspective there.
You can just see it.
So, and it's all using different wetness and dryness. Now, if you do get fuzzy lines like that, because your brush was a bit too wet, just pull out your brush just a little, not so that it's really dry, and just wipe over those fuzzy lines with the tip of your brush, just to smooth it out so you have smooth, calm-looking water, not fuzzy-looking water, okay? So the problem most people have with this is they keep painting too long because they don't have time to get it done. And then you end up with this is running and that's dry and you get blooming and then the water looks fuzzy and then it gets dry and then you get water that looks like it's dry water. How could that be? It's fine. If you got rough water, that would be fine, right? Like white water and froth or a lot of sparkle on the water. But with calm water, you want to do it while it's wet. So you can paint when it's shiny, and you can paint when it has a sheen. Right now there's a slight sheen in a few places, but you see how it looks kind of dull in a few areas. I should not paint there. I should stop. And
What if you're not done?
if you're not done, you just let it dry, get a hairdryer, dry it, wet it again, and continue. So in the colors we're using, we can do that. It won't smear because we're using stain colors.
So you can go right over
Uh-huh.
anything. Oh.
Yep.
But only colors that are stains.
Yeah. Some colors, and then we're going to look at that test. Remember I asked you to do that test, and we're going to look at that today. So now let's say you want some white ripples. So right now, the time that I shouldn't paint, I can lift off. So I can take a brush, lift out some moisture, and rub over it, and I can get a highlight coming off the top of those water ripples.
That's probably easier with like a hairbrush than a synthetic
Yeah,
brush.
the synthetic brushes don't work as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I knew that you meant that, not my hairbrush for my hair.
Oh, that could look
But you
different.
never know
No.
what you could do.
Just dip your hair.
Multi-purpose.
Well, we use toothbrushes,
Yeah.
right? So why not a hairbrush? So you don't have to do this, but you know it's kind of neat. You get a light and then you get a dark line out of that, right? We're going to look at that again when we do our reflections from the islands. So the thing with this You're gonna wet the page, remember to wet it twice, get your main color on. So that's that when you're doing water, main color, main gradation first with your big wash brush, then any reflections from the sky, if there's, clouds or special colors. Then by that time it's just got a slight sheen. Wonderful time to do ripples, because if you do it sooner they just spread away, they don't hold, or they look really fuzzy, right? So when it's got just a slight sheen, it's perfect time to do something that's a little more controlled. And the more the page evaporates, the more you have to blot your brush on the side before you start painting. You want your brush to have similar moisture as the page has. So that's why this exercise is so good, to just learn these different wetness and dryness things. And then to remember to stop before it gets too dry. And if you don't, that's okay, because you learn that, oh, it's too dry. When it's in this damp stage, it's very difficult to paint. And so maybe I could show you things that happen if I try to add some paint now.
So you started with yellow and then the phthalo was the next one that you worked into the yellow, is that right? Am I
Yep.
remembering right?
Yep. So if I paint now, do you see how
Oh, yeah.
that's starting to, let's see if I can angle down a little more and zoom in. What's happening? It's starting to, it lightens up instead of going darker, and we start to get a bloom line. Here it lifted off a bit and left a stain line. What else would happen? Let's say I keep trying to paint some waves where it's dry. Oops. So if I'm painting where it's dry, I get kind of crisp looking stripes, and they look stiff, and they don't look so good. And they come out looking light instead of dark in some spots. So yeah, it's still damp, and so it's blooming right now.
That's your brush that's damp, is that what's going on? Or is
So, because the page is damp and my brush is wet, and so it starts to bloom. Right? So, don't do it. But, most students do it anyway. And then that's how you learn, oh yeah, that really doesn't work. Right? So, nothing like,
Trial and
learning.
error.
Trial and error, that's how you learn, right?
I've not seen yours, but it's hard to find, because I used to be a teacher, and there's a lot of.
Okay, so here we are. We're gonna. So a lot of you are at the stage where you don't have an island yet, right? As I did that last week. So we wanted to show you how to do that. So it's something called controlled blooming. So blooming, we first learned, was don't do it in your water, but we want to try to make it happen for the island, and it's a really neat effect. So what I want to do, and some of you might want to add clouds to your skies, or you might say, my sky looks too weak, I want more color, I want to even something out. So if any of you want to adjust your sky, you could. So normally I wouldn't paint on top of this right now, but I'm going to, just to show you, because I like it how it is. But I'm going to wet it.
So are we gonna wet it all too?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the sky, but just once, and I'm going to let it evaporate off.
And this is okay, because these are all stains,
Yeah, see,
right?
like, look, it didn't smear. So that's where this little exercise comes in handy, that I know those colors are relatively permanent, and they're not going to bloom. So, I guess I'll have to paint on top of that. They can smear if they're really strong and sitting on the surface. This is another reason to use cotton paper. It absorbs into the fibers better than on wood pulp paper. So I wet my page. And at this point, say, oh, maybe I want to add some clouds. You could do that now. Maybe I need a better red line. Maybe I need more yellow, whatever. You could adjust things if you want while it's wet. And then I have to let this evaporate to where it's damp. And I wish I had done that before I started talking to you. And so what's the next stage, though? We can get ready for the next stage while I'm letting that get damp. So one of the things I need to do, and don't put your paint tray on your painting, but I am just so that, Rick, so you can see this, Rick. And anybody else who's going to watch this video. Now, we need a really strong mixture of violet and indigo blue All right, so we have some violet on my tray, so this is good over here. That one looks like it's too weak. I'm gonna use this violet over here.
A
Like
round
that.
brush.
I'm using a round brush and I'm getting some strong violet, some strong indigo blue, and some strong Prussian. So let's see, where can I put that? Some in there. What is this? This looks like indigo. So, oops. Oh,
Shit. Oops.
oh, that's on YouTube now. So, what's gonna be?
I don't think you're the first person to swear on YouTube. I think it's gonna.
Oh, probably not.
Actually, that was not usually my first choice.
I gotta clean this off here.
You must have been a
And
really
then-
fun teacher.
Oh, that was crazy.
And then we have some Prussian blue. So I want strong mixtures of these. If you're worried yours are too watered down, we can get straight out of the tube and mix it up. So watercolor should always be fluid, but we want those islands to look strong. So now I've talked enough and it should have evaporated. So what we want to do is put maybe a blue violet in the background. And we want really wet compared to damp. I hope I didn't talk too long. And we blot it on.
It looks black.
So, and we want it to travel. And I probably talked too long. Great. So just when the sheen leaves the page, this is when I want to put some color on. And it should travel and give me a wiggly line.
But not make it the reflection part.
I'm not doing the reflection, I'm doing the land.
So you started with Prussian, was it?
So I've got some indigo and some violet. Just kind of, sort of, not really happening a lot.
And it won't bloom down because you didn't wet the bottom, right?
That's right.
Oh,
So,
I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I have trouble with. It just keeps spreading everywhere.
You're not the only one.
okay, so I got carried away. So this is the trouble with trying to make blooming happen on purpose. That you have to pay attention. So yeah, you want to wet the page, let it evaporate to where it's damp, where the sheen has just left the page, just. And then put really wet paint next to it, and it'll run and make this wiggly line. I want to get some examples to show you of what I mean.
Is that like it or no?
No, that's where it just spreads and is soft, like it's running. I'm going to go get some examples to show you.